How about GPA? When does it make sense to leave a GPA off of a resume?
I guess when it's low. I don't know
What?
that companies our size really don't put too much stock in that. I think that there are the real big companies out there that do. I think for them it's a matter of pride that they think they got the best and brightest. But that's book knowledge. It's a whole different world out there when you get to work. Book knowledge doesn't count for that much. How do you perform? Do you think on your feet? Are you somebody that when I'll do a reference check on somebody, oh, Mark, this individual is wonderful. When he or she doesn't know something, they go home and they watch YouTubes and they really learn about the thing. They come back the next morning and they're ready to tackle the world. So we're looking for the approach to things. How do people manage and act in a consequential type of a role? And you could tell a lot of that, whether or not they're that dedicated to, like you said earlier, drive themselves to read a book instead of, something else that may not be as important to their careers. So there's a lot that comes out of these conversations and these interviews that not necessarily down on paper, but you infer things and then you, as a good interviewer, you probe further and say, well, tell me about a time where something that you did failed. What happened? Because you want to see how they handle that. They
Yeah.
might say, well, I banged my head up against the wall and I screamed and I threw things. We don't want that. But they might say, well, you know what? Failing is a good thing because you learn from it. So when I failed, I immediately went to find out how I could do it better next time. So these are kind of the soft skills. These are the
Yeah.
things that learning soft skills brings you to because you know how to handle certain situations. You don't want to be caught with that moment. You want to always be prepared. And you don't want to come off as somebody who's overconfident either. You got to balance it, but you do want to come off somebody that has good common sense and is truthful and honest. And this is me. These are the things I'm good at. These are the things I may not be as good at. But I do have a real passion for this industry because either my dad was an engineer and I want to be like him, or I've always liked sci-fi movies because when I watched one, I always looked at the apparatus on the deck of the starship or whatever the case may be. Make a convincing point that this is not just a job for you, but it's a passion, it's a calling. Kind of like you asked me earlier about broadcasting and getting into what I do. For me now, this is a passion. I just, even at this stage in my career, I just want to keep getting better and better because I know when I do that, I'm going to hire some really great people. And then I get to, since I'm in learning and development, I get to watch them grow. And that's very rewarding to see somebody that you hired or helped hire 2 or 3 years ago. They've already made manager in 6 months or a year because they had something special.
Thank you so much for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out the other videos down below that are recommended to you. And if you really like the podcast, make sure to subscribe right down there in the middle. We really appreciate it. It's free to you and helps us a lot out. And last but not least, the best way to help the show grow is to comment down below. So leave your comment if you have any thoughts about this segment. Thanks.
I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.